Well, there's the lingering rape case against Trump and Epstein. It was filed, and at the time the woman said she was 13 years old when Trump and Epstein raped her. And surprise, surprise, in her claim, she also says, she was threatened. Surprise, surprise again. That if Trump told her that if she said anything, they would essentially destroy and kill her family. Her and her family. Typical Trump kind of approach, right? And now you got Epstein dead. While he's in federal prison, while he's in federal custody, while he's supposedly being looked after because of suicide possibility, and somehow he still managed to die. So, of course, the Attorney General Barr, who's a hand-picked, right-wing nut of Trump, is trying to deflect it off and say, we'll look into it. Oh, gosh, we're going to look into what happened. How is this possible? Well, so what? It's too late. The Russian mafia, American mafia, Trump connection managed to kill off Epstein to keep him quiet from telling anything more about Trumpy boy. And right away, after Epstein dies, what's Trump doing? Look, he starts doing his tweeting thing where he's trying to say, it was the Clintons. It was the Clintons' involvement in this. Well, wait a minute. The history is all pointing to Trump and Epstein. Trump and Epstein. And they got a whole series of times where they were recorded being together. Epstein's creating parties for Trumpy boy, bringing in evidently prostitutes and underage girls, and we know that Epstein's a pedophile. He's already been convicted of it, the whole thing. And here on top of it is this lawsuit that popped up and kept getting popped up and brought out again by this woman who claims that when she was 13 she was raped by Donald Trump at a party put together by Epstein. Well, what was she doing there? Well, even in the report, she says she was there with the promise of a modeling career. That kind of sad. And then once he raped her, then he said, if you tell anybody, I'm going to kill you and your family. There you go. Typical Trump. As we've seen over and over again already. Look at the guys who have already gone to jail. They're all criminals. Michael Cohen. He started to talk, and then Trumpy boy turned around and said, hey, ask Cohen about his father-in-law. And that shut Michael Cohen up. Because his father-in-law was, surprise, surprise, a criminal too. And that implicated Cohen's wife, who was also doing illegal activity. Because they're all illegal. Republicans are all like Trump. And they're busy right now trying to deflect off of this murder of Epstein. Because after a while you're going to say, no, wait a minute. How's a guy in such a high-profile guy in custody and known to be a suicide risk, and somehow yet he still manages to supposedly die in your custody from suicide? Well, what were you doing? Well, there's already coming out of anonymous people in the prison system right there where he was, who are saying he was abandoned. He was not being watched as he was supposed to have been. And of course, the desperation of Trump is to shut Epstein up. Because Epstein is a direct link to Trump and his criminalities, and very dramatic, you gotta say, folks, pretty dramatic sex charges of, like this, raping underage girls, 13-year-old girl. It wasn't the only one. And plenty of others. And what did the other ones, who also in 2016, remember, were women coming out and saying they were been abused by Trump? And almost every single one of them are saying they pulled back their lawsuits because they were threatened with death. That guys showed up outside their houses with guns, just parked outside, figured out where they lived and showed up outside their house with guns. They feared for their life, and so they withdrew the lawsuits. Now this girl who was 13 at the time, and is now, of course, older, near 30, 40 years old, has repeatedly tried to bring this lawsuit. And in technicalities, not on the case itself, but in the technicalities of bringing the lawsuit, they have been dismissed. They've been pushed off, said her forms weren't correct, that the timing wasn't right, the application wasn't correct, that kind of stuff. Not the substance of the complaint. And on top of it, she has a witness who was with her when this happened, who can verify it. That type of stuff. Pretty damning stuff. Well, it kept going and bubbling along until 2016 again, where again she was supposed to show up finally at a press meeting about the lawsuit, and guess what? She didn't show up, and she has effectively, so far, disappeared. Then you go to Epstein, dead. And you're pretty sure that a person who was the direct person claiming Trump raped her at 13 is probably dead too. Has probably been murdered by Trump. You know, you have to say, prove me wrong. With all the history of going on of Trump and his failure to show you his taxes, to show you that he's actually involved with the Russian mob, that he actually did have to borrow sorts of money from the Russian mob, that he is tied to the Russian and American mafia, well, if he has nothing to hide, folks, why doesn't he release his taxes? What's the excuse of not releasing his taxes? He works for you. If he's your president, you have every right to know who he is. And who is he, does he have some lingering issues of conflict here? You have to know he's working for you. He's your president. Well, once again, it's like people are saying, we don't really have a president. You got a criminal in the White House, a mafia member, a racist, a complete racist, and who advocates for this racist attitude of violence, destruction of your rights. So that makes him not even qualified as an American. Puts him in the category, doesn't it, of an enemy to you. Because all these, races, these Ku Klux Klanners, the white supremacists, those are the things, they're not really like just a freedom of speech issue. That's not true. They advocate for the destruction of your rights. They advocate for violence against you. Folks, that makes them your enemy. And you are quite correct that the FBI or police go out there, find them, bring them in, lock them up, and get the hell out of the country or something. They're an enemy. And on top of it, you got the ongoing fact that Trumpy boy obstructed justice numerous times to make him a felony conviction multiple times over. Over 500 former and current federal prosecutors have read through that Mueller report and said, and signed on to the statement saying Trump is guilty of multiple felonies. And then you got his language about racism that, as we've seen here recently, have caused mass shooting deaths of Americans and other citizens. They're using the same language as Trump. So you could say, technically, that Trump was an accessory to murder. Because the killer and the guy who went down in El Paso, he used the same language in his declaration why he was murdering people as Trump had used. So that makes them together in a conspiracy. That makes them, Trump, an accessory to murder. And here, add to all of this, you got Epstein, a sex trafficker, known, convicted. He's already been convicted of it once, and here he comes back, gonna get up for more sex trafficking and whatnot, issues like that. And he's been friends and actively involved with Trump for a while, for years, setting up those type of parties. There's in the record Trump and Epstein down at the Mar-a-Lago together, setting up some sort of strange sex parties. And on that again, here's on top of it, this 13-year-old girl, at the time was 13 years old, filing the lawsuit that Trump had raped her and that she feared for her life, and because Trump had threatened her that if she ever did try to bring a lawsuit, complain, go to the police, that Trump would kill her and her family. And now Epstein's dead, while in federal custody, while he was supposed to be on a suicide watch, which means they're watching him all the time, and he doesn't have anything to, strangle himself with. He's supposedly it's in a cell in a facility. He isn't going to be able to do that type of thing, and yet somehow, surprise, surprise, Trump managed to do it. Because at some point you got to say, well, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. All this stuff is piling up. There's the taxes that haven't been shown, yet there's all sorts of other evidence out there saying, well, yeah, he's tied to the Russian mob. He borrowed money heavy from the Russian mafia and real estate purchases. Oh, yeah. There's other stuff with the Mueller report pointing out how much criminality Trumpy boy's in, to the point that it's multiple felonies. Then you got this, the tax thing, of course. Who is he? Show us the taxes. If you got so nothing to hide, Donny boy, show your taxes. Simple enough. And on top of it, oops, here's more. Epstein, sex trafficker, Donald Trump's buddy and party buddy, partying together. And a 13-year-old girl claiming she was raped by Trump. and her family threatened with death if she talked about it. And surprise, surprise, Epstein is killed while in federal custody. And this woman who put out her lawsuit against Trump in 2016 for rape disappears. You got what Republicans are. It ain't just Trump. It's the whole Republican Party are against you. They're against your rights. They're against your freedoms. They want to destroy them. Just look at the history. They tried to be destroying your Social Security. They've tried to be destroying your Medicare. They've been polluting and poisoning your water and air for a long time. They put you in illegal, fraudulent wars like Bush Cheney's invasion in Iraq. And on top of it, they pander to and encourage and support the racists in America who want to violently kill and destroy your rights. That's the Republican Party. That's Trump. That's Pence. That's the Christian extremist fascists that are in the Republican Party all together. That's where they are. Who killed Jeffrey Epstein? Who and where is this woman who claimed that Trump raped her when she was 13 and has since disappeared? Vote them all out. Vote every single Republican out. That's your 2020. That's your 2020 election choice to save America. To get rid of Trump, to get rid of Republicans, to get rid of the racists, to get rid of the Russian involvement in your government. You got to vote them all out. Who killed Jeffrey Epstein? What happened to that woman who claimed that Trump, through Epstein, Trump raped her when she was 13?